What's up, everyone? This is a continuation in a series in which we discuss who should the Knicks select with their picks in the upcoming NBA draft. I already discussed who the Knicks should draft with their lottery pick and with their next first-round pick. If you want to watch that, I'll leave a link in the description. Landing a good player in the second round is extremely difficult. Some players that are drafted in the second round go on to have great NBA careers, but this is the extreme minority. The careers of most second-round picks usually end in just a few seasons. The Knicks own the 38th pick in this year's draft due to a trade a few years ago with the Charlotte Hornets. I think that the Knicks will find a very good player in the second round. While they may not land an all-star, they can definitely land someone who could be a potential building block. After evaluating a large number of prospects, these are the top 5 guys who I think will be available to the Knicks when it's their turn to choose at pick number 38. Before we get started, if you like videos like this, I have plenty more of them on the channel. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before July, and your support is really appreciated. Now with that said, let's go ahead and get started. The number 5 prospect that the Knicks should select in the second round is Cassius Stanley. Cassius Stanley is a 6'6" shooting guard who played for Duke this year. He's ranked 51st on ESPN's draft board, so he can easily be available to the Knicks when it's their turn to pick at number 38. On the season, Cassius averaged 12 points and 5 boards a game, on 47% shooting from the field and 36% shooting from 3. While those numbers are very modest, the main reason I would draft Stanley is for his upside. I believe Stanley has all-star potential. He brings good size for the shooting guard position at 6'6" with a 6'8" wingspan, and he's an incredible athlete. Cassius Stanley has an absolutely insane 46.5-inch vertical, which would be the second highest vertical in the NBA right behind Desmond Jr. Cassius Stanley knows how to put that athleticism to good use on the basketball court. He's really dangerous in transition. If you don't get back on defense after he gets a rebound, Cassius will beat you to the other end of the court for a dunk or an alley-oop. He's also a strong rebounder, evidenced by his solid 5 boards a game. Thanks to Stanley's size and athleticism, he has high defensive potential. While he isn't great on defense yet, he's shown glimpses of being a stopper. Cassius can use his lateral quickness and size to stay in front of and disrupt ball handlers. He plays with a high motor on the defensive end, but that motor tends to hurt him at times because he can be over-aggressive and get into foul trouble. I do think Cassius can become a good defender at the NBA level, but it's going to take some time. Along with being an incredible athlete, Cassius Stanley also proved to be a solid 3-point shooter for Duke this year. He shot 36% from 3 and a decent 73% from the free throw line. While Cassius is a very intriguing prospect, he's still pretty raw at this stage of his career. Cassius needs to work on his handle as he tends to rely way too much on his athleticism to score. He needs to work on his passing as he averaged just 1 assist and 2 turnovers a game this year. On defense, while Cassius does play hard, his basketball IQ on the defensive end isn't great. Along with being a foul machine, Stanley often loses his man off the ball, and because he isn't very strong, he tends to struggle against more bigger physical players. Despite the fact that Cassius isn't very skilled yet, I believe his upside is through the roof. He has the size and athleticism and high motor. If Cassius Stanley can improve his handles, he could be one of the best rim attackers in the league, which would help him become a premier scorer. If the Knicks draft him, they need to show some patience. He isn't going to be very good right away in the league. I do believe Cassius can become a star, but it's going to take a good few years of developing him. It would make a lot of sense to let him play in the G League to let him get some burn if he isn't getting playing time on the regular team. Stanley is one of those players you can call a project. He won't be very good in his first year, but if developed right, he could end up becoming an all-star. The number 4 prospect that the Knicks should draft in the second round is Robert Woodard. He's ranked 25th on ESPN's big board, so there is a good chance that he's gone when it's the Knicks' turn to pick, but I've seen other draft sites have Woodard back in the low 30s, so I do think that there is a chance that he will be available when it's the Knicks' turn to pick at number 38. Robert Woodard is a 6'7" small forward who played 2 years for Mississippi State. Unlike Cassius Stanley, Woodard is someone who can help the Knicks right away as a 3-and-D player. He averaged 11 points, 6.5 boards, on 49% shooting from the field and 43% shooting from three this year. One of the most valuable skills he can bring to the next level is his shooting. Obviously, 43% from three is very good, but he only did that on 2.3 attempts a game. So whether his shot will translate to the next level is in question. Along with his shooting potential, Woodard brings really good size and athleticism. He's 6'7" with a long 7'1" wingspan, and he's got a high vertical. Thanks to those physical tools, Woodard is a really good defender. With his length and good anticipation, he can disrupt passing lanes. He's also a good shot blocker as he averages about a block a game. Woodard is also a really good rebounder. He boxes out on defense to get the defensive board, and if you don't box him out on offense, he can easily get an offensive board on you and a putback. Woodard is the type of player that's a low usage, high efficient player. He isn't someone that can be relied on to carry your offense, but he will score at a high rate when given open shots. He doesn't have a strong handle or very strong shot creation abilities. He also isn't much of a playmaker as he averaged 1.3 assists to 1.9 turnovers this year. While Woodard's upside doesn't appear to be very high, he could potentially be a great fit on this team due to his potential as a 3-and-D player. All the top teams in the league surround their all-star with role players that can not only space the floor, but defend the other team's top perimeter players. For example, if you look at the Lakers, while LeBron is a great driver, he's got guys like Danny Green and Avery Bradley to play good defense and knock down their open shots. Robert Woodard could be the perfect player to put alongside a young player like RJ Barrett, who proved to be a pretty good slasher in his rookie season. Getting a nice 3-and-D player in the second round like Robert Woodard would be an amazing find for the Knicks. The number 3 prospect that the Knicks should select in the second round is Jordan Nwora. Jordan Nwora is a 6'7" third-year forward out of Louisville. On the season, he averaged 18 points and 8 boards a game on 44% shooting from the field and 40% shooting from three. He's ranked 43rd on ESPN's Big Board, so he should be available to the Knicks when it's their turn to pick at number 38. Similar to Robert Woodard, Nwora also brings 3-and-D potential to the table, but I believe that Nwora's shooting will be more easily translatable to the next level. He shot 40% from three on an impressive 6 attempts a game, and through 3 attempts at Louisville, his career average from three is 39%. He also shot 81% from the free throw line, and free throw is a pretty good indicator of how good a shooter you are. He has a very quick release and needs absolutely zero space to get his shot off. If you don't stay close to him, he's going to hit 6 or 7 3-pointers on your team before it's even halftime. He isn't just a spot-up shooter either. Louisville runs a lot of screens to get him open, and he knocks it down at a high rate when the ball finds him. Nwora has really deep range. He was able to effortlessly knock down deep 3 balls from way beyond the line all season long, which leads me to believe he's going to be a sniper the second he steps in the NBA. Although being a great shooter, Nwora is also a pretty solid shot creator, evidenced by his 18 points per game. He can knock down pull-up jumpers when he shakes off the 3-point line, and he can create his own shot off the dribble using his step-back move. Although being an amazing shooter, Nwora is a solid defender. Because he has good size for the small forward position at 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan, he's someone that will be able to guard multiple positions at the next level. He's a pretty good team defender, and he has quick hands and decent lateral movement when playing on-ball defense. Because of Nwora's 3-and-D abilities, I can see him starting for the Knicks in his first season. As stated before, the Knicks desperately need shooting around their potential franchise player in RJ Barrett. Nwora's ability to shoot the ball at a high level, combined with his defensive abilities, makes him a perfect fit for the Knicks. The number 2 prospect that the Knicks should take in the second round is Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is a 21-year-old 6'6" 2 guard who played 4 years at TCU. On the season, Bane put up 16 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists a game on 45% shooting from the field and 44% shooting from three. Bane is ranked 42nd on ESPN's Big Board, so he should be available to the Knicks when it's their turn to pick at number 38. So what does Bane bring to the table? The most valuable skill that Bane brings to the table is 3-point shooting. You don't need me to say again the Knicks need shooters. In his senior year at TCU, Bane shot 44% from three on an impressive 6.5 attempts a game. And he shot a career 80% for the free throw line at TCU, which helps to validate him as a shooter. He can not only be a great spot-up shooter, but he can also knock down threes coming off screens. Now, Baines is an absolute sniper, but don't be mistaken, he's far from just a three-point specialist. Baines is very versatile on offense. He has the ability to put the ball on the floor and hit pull-up jumpers. He can even create his own shot off the dribble with crossovers and step-backs. Now, he's not an elite ball handler, but he's got a strong enough handle to create that space to get his shot off. Baines is also a pretty good passer. Now, he's not someone that's ever going to be your primary playmaker, but he will make smart decisions with the ball in his hands, especially when facilitating out the pick and roll. Along with being well polished on offense, Baines is also a pretty good defender. Now, you would think that a 6'6" player with a really short 6'4" wingspan will have a hard time defending big players. But thanks to Baines' strength and high motor, he could guard players that are much bigger and taller than him. He's good at moving his feet well and contesting shots, making him a good isolation defender. Thanks to his high motor and versatility, I could see him as someone that can guard 1 through 3 in the NBA and even the 4 depending on the matchup. And finally, number 1. The number 1 prospect that the Knicks should select in the second round is Paul Reed. Reed is a third-year 6'9" power forward out of DePaul. He put up incredible stats for DePaul this year, averaging 15 points, 11 boards, 2.6 blocks, and 2 steals a game. So as you can see, he's a pure stat sheet stuffer. Paul Reed is ranked 52nd on ESPN's draft board, so he should be available to the Knicks when it's their turn to pick with the 38th pick. I believe that Paul Reed is one of those players in this draft that is going to end up being one of those gems that teams will pass on, but will instantly make those same teams regret passing on him once they actually see him play in the league. Reed brings good size for the power forward position at 6'9" with a long 7'2" wingspan. He's a huge high energy player. Paul Reed is one of those players like Joakim Noah that always plays at 200% while he's on the floor. He's a great rebounder on the offensive and defensive glass, and he's a great defender. Now he has potential to be an elite defender at the forward position, as he's not only quick enough to stay in front of guards and forwards, but he can also drop back and protect the rim at a high rate. On offense, Paul Reed has some really impressive skills for a big man. He has the ability to handle the ball really well. He's even shown the ability to bring the ball up in transition and finish on the fast break. He also has shown the ability to create offense for himself off the dribble using crossover moves, and has shown nice finishing moves in the paint. With his athleticism and offensive skills, paired with his defense, Reed seems like a potential all-star. But if Reed wants to be a great player at the NBA level, he needs to develop an outside shot. His shot has shown some signs of life at DePaul. He shot 31% from 3 this year, and he did shoot a decent 74% from the free throw line. I do think Reed can develop a good 3-ball, but it will take a few seasons to develop. If he can hit the 3 at over 35%, Paul Reed would be a perfect modern-day 4 in today's league, as he not only would be able to rebound and defend, but also be a floor spacer. But Reed's ball handling and agility tells me he has a higher potential than just a quality starter. This is, to me, why Reed is the perfect second-round selection, as he has not only a high floor, but also a high ceiling. Paul Reed reminds me a lot of Pascal Siakam. Now, I know that sounds like a stretch, but Siakam has similar size and athleticism to Reed at 6'9" with a 7'3" wingspan when he got drafted. He was picked late in the draft at number 27, but because the Raptors invested in his development, he turned into an all-star just 4 years after being drafted. If the Knicks draft Paul Reed, they really need to work with him to develop his outside shot and his offensive skills. But if he's developed properly, the Knicks could be walking away with the steal of the 2020 draft. So with that said, those are the top 5 prospects that I think the Knicks should look at in the second round. I think any of those 5 guys would end up being a perfect fit. Thanks to everyone who stuck around to the end. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day.